All right, so we're going to find the inverse of the following rational function. So there's a standard process of finding the inverse of a function, and it involves the following steps. So the first step is um, some of these steps are kind of unnecessary in a way, but like you can just switch f of x for y. So sub f of x for y. So you would end up getting, so after the first step we would get y equals negative 2x plus 2 over negative 5x minus 3. Now, the second step would be, and this is most definitely required, we need to swap x and y around. So swap x and y. So we would end up getting, using step 2, x equals negative 2y plus 2 over negative 5y um, minus 3. And the last step is to solve for y. Actually, that's the second to last step. But this is the lengthiest step. Steps 1 and 2 are almost always the same. I mean, it's almost, yeah, it's going to be the exact same steps in the same amount of time. Step 3, it's where you have to use math and think about how to approach it and doing what you need to do to get the correct solution. And this one takes a little bit of work. And the idea is we want to isolate y. Generally, you just want to isolate y on one side of the equation, and sometimes it takes some tricks. This one involves a trick. So let's take a look at this. First step, you want to multiply. You want to multiply negative 5y minus 3 on both sides of the equation. And that cancels out what we have on the denominator, and we end up having, so notice on the left side of the equation, we would want to use the distributive property. And you would end up getting negative 5xy, because you multiply the x by the negative 5y. And then we need to multiply the x by the negative 3. That would give us minus 3x. That's equal to negative 2y plus 2, because all you have is what's left on the numerator of that, up from the rational part of the function. Okay, and now this is where we isolate the y, because our goal is to solve for y. So what we want to do is get all the y terms on one side of the equation and all the non-y terms on the right side of the equation. So everything with y on the left side. So we need to add, I'll do this in red. We're going to add 2y to this side. That'll cancel out with that. And I'll put it in a different color. We're going to add 3x to this side because we want to get the non-y term on the right side of the equation. And that will cancel out with that. So we're left with negative 5xy plus 2y equals 3x plus 2. Okay, now that we have the y terms on the left side and no other terms on that left side, we can then do a little trick. This is where the trick comes in. First off, you have to know to get to this step, but now you have to know what to do once you get to this step. Now, the trick is to factor out that y from the two terms on the left side of the equation. So notice they have a common term, and the only common term we want to factor out is that y. In this case, that's the only common term, but you only want to factor out the y. If there's more things that you could factor out, ignore it. You only want to factor out the y, and you'll end up getting y, and now we have left negative 5x and then plus 2. See that? So I'm using the distributive property to get that y outside because they both have y in common. And then we still have equals 3x plus 2. But now at this point, all we have to do is divide by what's in the parentheses, and that will make it so we have y by itself on the left side of the equation. So at this step, we would divide by negative 5x plus 2 on both sides. That'll cancel out with that, and we would end up with y equals 3x plus 2 over negative 5x plus 2. And then the very last step, and this is a pretty simple step, is replace y with the inverse function f of negative 1 x. And that's where we get the solution. So then that for step 4, we would get, so technically we're kind of doing step 3 right here all the way down. But step 4, we would end up getting f of negative 1 of x equals 3x plus 2. And we just write down what we have here. And there we go. Our final solution is 3x plus 2 over negative 5x plus 2. All right, let me know if you have any questions, but that is our final solution. This is the inverse function.